When you're in a fallen state, people will judge the molester but think they're better than the molester. And I ask, well, why do you think you're better? When I realized it doesn't matter what you think about yourself or how much you have or don't have or how you accomplish things in life or don't. If you have no love, you have nothing. So, here's what I recommend. I invite you to download my silent prayer, and I want you to start doing it. You just download it, get the points of how to do it, and then after a while, you just do it on your own. It's going to point you in the right direction that your life will be returned to you from God. He will give you your life back because anyone and all people who has anger, they're not themselves. You are the person that you are angry at. That's why it's so important to get to know yourself so that you can see who you're angry at. And if you're doing the hooping and hollering prayers and things like that, some people get up, oh, praise the Lord, hoop and holler, bless my mama, bless my daddy. Continue to do it. Do both. You will see if you want to stay with the hooping and hollering or do you want to be still and know God. So my gift to you, no charge, at rebuildingtheman.com/church. We have a counseling service, and I have to admit, thanks to God, it is the best counseling service on this side of heaven. I counsel with men and women, families, and individuals around the world. Most people are unhappy, they're miserable, they have rough lives, they're depressed, suicidal, young and old, of all races. I understand, I know why, and I do understand it. Because exactly what's happening in me is happening with everybody outside of me, inside of them. And I've noticed that with those who really, really, really want to understand, they overcome it just like that, out of one counseling session. If you need counseling, you can go to rebuildingtheman.com or call 800-411-2663. 800-411-BOND. Best counseling service on this side of heaven. Isn't he Mexican?
Colombian.
He calls himself American.
What is this?
Anchor Baby.
And in this corner, it's the American Anchor Baby.
Daddy's home.
That's an offensive term. People find that hurtful.
You mean it's not politically correct? Excuse me. I'll use the word anchor baby. You know, he's an anchor baby in Canada.
Tell him we still rolling with Trump, too.
Anchor baby, the whole thing sounds horrific. You're just making it sound like immigrants are these horrific, greedy people.
Ustedes pueden aceptar mi negocio o aceptar las consecuencias. Plata o plomo.
So you would be considered white, in my opinion.
You the blackest one in this room,
I think so.
And what happened was his mama got pregnant on the other side of the border, and then a few hours before, just before it was time for him to pop out, she jumped across the border and let him fall on American soil. So he became the anchor baby. They don't call him the anchor baby for nothing. Amazing.
We like this anchor baby, right?
Hello, I'm the American Anchor Baby. This is my show. Thanks for tuning in, folks, on this fine Monday. A fine Monday to be back because we got a show to get into. And all of you guys, okay, I see you. Amazing. Okay, we're going to get to your calls and everything. We're going to get going here. So let's say hello. Let's show a little manners. Okay, some home training. Some civility. I don't know. I mean, things that are lacking, maybe. Look, so I'm saying hello. Welcome. How you doing? Rumble.com/American Anchor Baby. Punchy.tv/Anchor Baby. And, of course, the people here on YouTube. How you doing? Happy Monday. Everybody loves Mondays. Back at it again. And you're here. You're here. You're liking the stream. You're saying hello, making a noise, making it known that you're here. I mean, come on. Don't be rude. Don't be an animal. You're devolving. You're devolving into an animal, and I'm just helping you a little bit. Click the like button. Don't be rude. We're welcoming the folks, okay? And if you got something on your mind, something you want to talk about, y'all are already calling in, you're welcome to call in. That's 888-775-3773. You got something on your mind, something you want to talk about. There's the number for you. In fact, I see you guys coming in. And, well, how do I want to do this? Let's see. I got plenty of stories for you. I think you guys are going to love it. You guys are going to love it. Interesting things all around. Very diverse. Varied. Don't worry. Don't use the D word. Terrible word. Amazing. And what else? What else? You're showing your manners. You're calling in. Amazing. So you're here, and I see your calls. I think I want to start it off a little different. I think I want to say hello to my callers. Take a call or two, because we got to jump into some of this stuff. I mean, we're going to just fly over to Colombia very briefly, because the things concerning Latin America, you might find it interesting. And there will be a point where it'll connect for you. You're like, what is this? What is this savage kingdom? Sorry, I was reading excerpts from a book. That's an actual book, not a racist thing, okay? The people who wrote that were they were writing about history, stuff that happened, you know, indigenous people, you know how it goes. Latin America, there'll be a point where it connects with you, because there's the liberals talking about it. You'll find it interesting. Some people you have to show them. You have to show them video of, for example, why a criminal is in jail. And then finally, maybe, just maybe, they'll drop the liberal feeling bad for the criminal. It's like, well, he beheaded a family. Do you want to see a video? Oh, maybe putting criminals in jail is a good thing. Latin America. I think you'll find some of that interesting, but we'll jump around, because they're trying to retcon woke, retroactive continuity. When a series or a show or a story, they ignore certain things, facts that have happened in the story, and they just rewrite the story, try to rewrite history. They're trying to tell you that we were just joking when we were saying abolish the police. We were just trying to be viral. We didn't mean that, guys. Come on. Trying to retcon the whole thing. I think you'll find that fascinating. And any parents willing to let your child die by medically assisted suicide because they're depressed? This wasn't the life I envisioned for you. So an early death is the only logical solution. Look, there's amazing things happening. And there's a video out of Spain that if I described to you, just without showing it to you, you would call me an insane, just a wacko. Even you guys, off the deep end, racist. What's this guy on? If I just described this video, matter of factly, you'd be shocked, but we'll get to all of that. And your calls, 888-775-3773. I do appreciate it. And I want to jump to Reno. We're going to Reno, Nevada here for a moment. And we're going to say hello to a first-time caller, Drew. Drew, appreciate your call. You're on the air.
Hey, how you doing?
All is well, sir.
Well, I'm on my prep right now as a teacher, and I'm getting ready to walk somewhere quiet because these kiddos are coming in from lunch.
Thank you for that.
But
shout out the Bambinos.
I know, silly gooses, right?
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, so here's my question. My kids are graduating in Oregon, and I live in Reno. And we've been kind of distant because they're like teenagers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're both graduating high school, but I'm in Reno working on like a teaching license because it's like $20,000 cheaper to do it in Reno, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I've kind of distanced myself from them and everything. And I don't know if they're mad at me or whatever, but like I make regular payments to them and support them. Here's my question.
Mm-hmm.
I have to be back next week, and I would have to drive all the way to Portland and come back to Reno in like 3 days. And like, they're like, oh, kids only graduate. It's a once in a lifetime thing. but it's like, I don't know that I want to go because it would be expensive, tough on the car. And like, if I showed up and the kids were like distant, I'd be like bummed out. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So would it be okay if I stayed here in Reno and just not worry about it?
Can I ask a few things first? I'm just looking it up, for example, on Google Maps. I'm an Anchor baby. Apologies. I'm like, Reno.
Oregon,
okay,
yeah,
so
like,
yeah, it's pretty far drive, 6 hours.
No,
Yeah.
it's from Reno to Portland, and then they live out towards like the coast.
Oh.
It's like
You don't have to
a
say
9
where.
hour drive. It's
9
like
hours.
600 miles. So Reno to Mount Shasta, then you get on the I-5 up to Ashland, then you go up to Eugene, keep going until you hit near Portland, then you got to turn left and head out to the coast. So it's quite a drive.
Anything for love. No, okay. How old are they and what graduation is this? Like you're saying it's a graduation from what grade?
They're both seniors in high school, and one is graduating early.
And they're graduating
So
high school. It's a high school graduation.
Yeah,
Done with high school, off to what else is next?
High school.
High school graduations were normal for me growing up, but we also had I remember we had like graduations from what's it called? Like middle school and stuff. I remember they had graduations. I remember they had like a grad ceremony from just moving middle school. I remember thinking, well, that's not that big of a deal, is it? Is that really such an important thing? I feel like the world has maybe added a bunch of this stuff. Like, well, now you graduate from middle school, and it's like you got to be there. You know, it sounds a little bit much. It sounds like they've added a bunch of what's it called, like trophies and ceremonies for things that you didn't really need to celebrate. Is that a fair impression I have of?
Yeah, it's like, and then in listening to Jesse, you know, like he's kind of like just like if people are distant to you or whatever, you just worry about yourself. You don't like worry about them or whatever because, you know, it just brings thoughts in your mind, and all thoughts are all lies all the time, you know?
Well, I mean, I'm curious about that, but maybe more in like a evil curious, like, I don't know, like, wait, what's going on? Why did things go that way with your family? But honestly, the answer is already there for your question. In my opinion, the answer is already there. It's just if you want to. That's really the answer.
I mean,
if you want to. It sounded like you're saying you feel a little guilty, like maybe they kind of hate me, so I feel like having to go there. Or you said you named a bunch of reasons. So far, I haven't heard one, which is I want to.
Like when I go up there for the summers or whatnot, or for Christmas or whatnot, we make the bond, and then I got to go back to Reno, and it's kind of like they're bummed out, you know?
Yeah.
And like I feel like teens, they got their own thing that they're doing, like they're working now, and then they've been working hard.
Right.
And so there's a bit of distance. And it's like I send money all the time to them each month, and I never get a thank you. And it's like, I just dropped you like $150 on Venmo. Where's the thing?
Mm-hmm.
You know? So it's like, dude,
and
I
is
kind of
this
don't
like,
want to go.
You kind of don't. How's the relationship between you and the mother?
Good. Very good. We talk all the time.
And so she doesn't give you any issues seeing them or?
No. I can even go and stay at their house anytime I want. I just don't know why the kids don't call me no more.
Okay. It's a little distant lately between you and the kids.
Yeah.
Do you think that by going to this graduation, you will, you know, I guess I'll say fix such a thing?
Not trying to fix, but at least I'll show up and I know that I went.
It sounds like you, I mean, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but it sounds like you do see them. It's just that you might not be able to see them for this graduation thing.
No, because I would have to drive back. I'd only be there for 2 days, and I'd have to drive back to Reno and finish out the school year. And it's like, man, driving out there, it's all like, it can get foggy, and there's all these like windy roads and stuff, you know? And
so see them another day.
Right? That's what I'm saying.
It would be the same thing, no? If they get, do you think they would be bummed out if you didn't come to the graduation?
I doubt it. Maybe, I don't know. But the money I would save.
If they were bummed out, would that change anything? If they did, Dad, I'm going to be bummed out, would that change anything?
Nothing at all.
Yeah, right. I mean, just talking with you, it's making its own sense, you know. And I stick to the you should go because guilt and all the other things you mentioned are not reasons to do what you're saying.
I'm almost thinking that the money I would spend for the gas money and everything, I'll just Venmo that to them and say, happy graduation, I'm proud of you. You know?
And that's fine. But, kids, I don't really think they really care about, like, the money. They might appreciate it, especially older. You said they're teenagers. You said they're working. I mean, they probably enjoy the money. They'll definitely use it. I don't know if they care so much about that. But it's not, I don't think it's like this whole specific for the graduation thing. I feel like that's the moms or something. And if the kids feel bad about it, it's because the moms told them to feel bad about it. Because you're just going to go see them a different day. What's the difference?
Exactly. I'm going to see him. I support him I support him with the monthly checks, and all the time. It's just that I gotta like finish up with what I'm doing, down here in Reno, working on my teaching license. So close to getting it. So close to getting it, but it's been a sacrifice.
I can't really tell you what to do, but honestly, I just do what I want to do. The kids don't really care about the money. They just want to be close to their dad, and a lot of times they have issues because either they've adopted they've adopted some sort of thoughts about the dad from the mother or from someone else.
Exactly.
And if that's the case, it's one of those things that money and going to a graduation won't really help. And I don't know exactly what, but maybe some honesty, and maybe they'll come to you one day and ask you about it. Why, Dad, this, et cetera. And then that would be your moment. But guilt and all those things are not love and not reasons to operate.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Good words.
Drew, you first time on my show, man. I appreciate you calling me. You heard about me through Jesse, et cetera.
Yeah, I don't miss an episode, and then I always go back when I'm bored and listen to the July episodes, like way back when, to listen to the White History Month. It's pretty funny.
It's coming up.
I was working in Las Vegas for a long time at like all black schools and inner schools, so like I've been around them, and I'm white, how it is, but the things that you guys talk about, like there's no such thing as racism and all that stuff, and like I resonated with it because I've been a teacher in the inner city school in Las Vegas and North Las Vegas, and I can tell you stories. But man, you
gotta
guys
call me back on one of those.
Yeah, for sure.
And so, what are you gonna do? Or I guess, anything else?
No, man. I'm just so happy to talk to you. You guys, I so happy to listen to you guys every day. You guys help me be grounded.
Thank you, Drew. I appreciate tuning in, man. I got some interesting stuff coming up.
Thanks, Anchor Baby. You're the best. Amazing.
Call me again, Drew. Take it easy.
For sure. Peace.
888-775-3773. Did I see some of you guys say I had like a graduation from kindergarten? Where did I see that? Isn't kindergarten, right? The garden of children? Kinder. What is kinder? Is that German? Kinder, children. Das Kinder. Kindergarten. Right? Like kindergarten is not even grade 1, right? It's preschool. Why are you graduating? Honey, you can go to the preschool. You can go to the kindergarten graduation with the mothers if you want to, but I'm not going to go. Why? It's kindergarten. Can you imagine that argument? Can you imagine such an argument that we should make? That's a movie. That's like a scene in a movie. That's a humorous scene. We should film that. Derek, write this one down and find us a female. We should film that. Kindergarten. Why don't you want to go to the kindergarten graduation? Because it's kindergarten. Let's get to Jermaine out of Canada. How you doing, Jermaine? I appreciate it. Canada in the house. Shout out. You're on the air.
Nick, sir, how are you?
All is well, Jermaine. Thanks for your call.
Amazing. Man, have I got a story for you. And this ain't gossip. This is just me, watching and seeing the outcome and what's going to happen.
Okay, he says that's we don't know your heart, even if your stories are messy sometimes. But that doesn't mean you're judging or gossiping.
That's for sure. So you remember I've called before about my female coworker, right?
Yes.
If he black, so he might not remember.
That's true, but I do remember.
So you remember, and I talked to you about the new girl that we had to in the office and stuff like that.
Yes.
So let me give it a rundown. I've seen it myself. They're fussing, they're fighting. Not sure why, Whatever. None of my business because they're friends, right? They're friends. You never get between friends when they're fighting, especially if they're at work. Maybe if he wasn't at work, I'll say my little thing, but none of my business. Not trying to put myself in there. But the accountant, she was on vacation for a couple of weeks. So the new girl, she's doing, she's at work by herself now. And my boss is gone, whatever. So my boss tried to figure it out before they left for vacation. But, the accountant was coming back. And the new girl, which is, I thought they were friends, but I guess they're not. She was saying, oh, I'm not going to be coming in the morning anymore and closing. I'm like, oh, why? Because he's like, oh, because Weiwei's coming back. And Vic, I think that's how the argument comes up. It was saying my boss doesn't want her to be here at the same time when the accountant is here because they're having a little bit of issue.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, yeah, I saw it, but it's none of my business. I told her, she's like, why didn't you say anything? I'm like, well, it's none of my business. You guys are friends. You guys should be able to talk and deal with this on your own and not have the boss included in it. But she was saying, she's shy. She doesn't want to be confrontational. And I'm like, well, then they're going to take advantage of you. People are going to see you weak and they're going to use you. And she's like, but what do you think the problem is? Why is she mad at me? And I'm like, listen, I can't tell you, none of my business, And I'm like, and I said to her, if you really want to know, do you really want to know? She's like, yeah. I'm like, okay, forgive your mother and then everything will be shown to you.
Is that what you said to her?
And she's like, what do you say?
Is that what you said to her?
Yeah. I said, forgive your mother and everything will be shown to you. And she's like, yeah, but my mother never done anything wrong. I'm like, well, you lied to your mother, right? And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, why? Because I don't want to be confrontational to her. I'm like, well, it's the same thing you're doing now. You're a liar. I mean, I didn't say that to her, but I'm like, she's a liar for sure. And I'm like, forgive your mother and everything will be made clear to you. It's like, no, you just tell me. And I'm like, this bitch is crazy. She's trying to put me in the hot pot here, And I'm like, I know they're friends. I'm like, this will blow over and they're going to be friends again. So that's why I didn't want to put myself in a situation. Mm-hmm. And today, she kind of been back since last week. And today, they've been avoiding each other. And today I see them in the car chatting and smoking and enjoying time. I'm like, what the? What a mess.
So was it a personal issue or was it having to do with work between them?
It had to do with work. Someone kind of messed up and then, one threw the blame on the other and the other one threw the blame on the other. And then they got mad at each other.
And they wanted you to get involved between that?
Yeah, she's like, tell me why. She tried to pull every string to get me to tell her why. And I'm like, if you really want to know, do you really want to? She's like, yeah. I'm like, go and forgive your mother. Then, and your father, and then you will know for yourself. Even if I tell you, you're not even going to see it. That's what I said to her. And she's like, no, I'll see it. And I'm like, I just gave you an example, and it flow by past you, and you want me to tell you? I'm like, none of my business. I just gone my way.
And the reason you said that to her about forgiving, why did you say that?
Forgive her mother? Because they're both judging each other.
Right. Okay.
And they're blaming each other when really they're mad at themselves. They're not even mad at themselves. They're mad at their parents because we all have parents issue. I've noticed that. We're talking with the new girl and the accountant. It's all parents issues, controlling issues. So that's what I figured.
That's why I asked why, because, I'm like, what was your understanding of saying that? And it's like, it sounds correct to me, not to nitpick, but it sounds correct in that, you see that your real issue is your own emotional inability to see what's going on inside of you. You're angry. And so I have to assume that that's part of the reason why you told him that, because, it's about overcoming that anger. I don't know how much it helps if someone doesn't quite see it that way. Like, what's the purpose? Why are you telling me this? But I'm not here to nitpick exactly. I don't know the conversation you had with them, but that is why I was asking that.
I figured, Nick. But people ask, but I think they just ask out of curiosity. They don't really want it or want to hear it. As soon as forgiving mothers come up, they're shaking. Because me, I can't tell mom or dad. I even lie to her to not be confrontation to her because she's crazy, And that's pretty much what I got from her. And I'm like, well, you're just like your mother now because you're lying. You don't want to do things that you're scared of. You're living in fear now, which was passed down to her. So whatever. Not my business, though.
What a mess.
I just left them to figure it out. It seems like they did. I don't know.
It looks like it, right?
Because now, I could have inserted myself in there because they were asking. And then they're going to sit there and talk about me after.
That's why it's best not to get involved. That's why that's why you can't even you got to be really careful in so-called helping people. And like I'm trying to imagine a similar situation, and I'm not saying you did this, but I'm just saying if someone came to me for advice, I would just tell them something simple like, don't you see that you're mad? You don't see that you're mad and that's causing issues, right? That'd be the same. It'd be almost the same as the same path as forgive your mother. But, a lot of people just wouldn't even get that.
Yeah.
But, and this is why you can't, this is why, and to add to what you're saying, how I don't want to say they turned on you, but, it's how people are, you're like trying to help them. And apparently it sounds like they're being nasty to you. This is why you got to be careful with so-called helping. You actually you entangle yourself with people, and people are evil. So.
Oh yeah. Even when I was saying do you see that she's mad at you and you're mad at her and you don't really even know why you're mad at her? And I'm like, people being mad at people all the time. I mean, it's their decision to be mad, and that's okay, And I'm like, but you're mad at her for being mad at you, and like you said, you're mad at her, she's mad at you, and really you're mad at yourself. Well, not really, but you understand what I'm saying.
I do, man. And conflict resolution, I mean, it's something you got to have, especially in the workplace. I mean, what does that entail? It entails two very difficult things women have problems with, which is emotions and admitting you're wrong. It's conflict resolution 101. I mean, women in the workplace. Jermaine, man, anything else you want to speak on before we move the wheels?
No, man, that was my little story for today.
It's like they're almost begging you in a strange way to take control, because look at the chaos otherwise. And I mean, I guess maybe the general you, and I'm talking to men, maybe. Jermaine, man, call me again.
Yeah. All right. We'll talk again.
888-775-3773. Amazing. So, where was I here? I got some stories for you. I got some stuffs for you. And we're going to just take a little flight briefly to a foreign country. You're like, why, Nick? What do I care about this? I mean, it's kind of interesting. They're calling it doing a bukele. Are they going to do a bukele? It's a verb now. You're familiar with, or is it bukele? Nayib Bukele? Dictator of El Salvador since 2019. And I'm joking around, but you're familiar with the guy that put them all in jail, basically. This is the put them all in jail guy, and they love him for it. They love him. And so in Colombia, which, by the way, is a vibrant, diverse country, according to Wikipedia, is having themselves a bit of an election, okay? The first rounds of their presidential elections over there in Colombia, South America, The first rounds of their presidential elections are, they just held their first rounds. And I don't know exactly how it works because it's like this runoff thing where you have to have like 50%. A candidate has to win like 50%. And so now they're doing a runoff election. The winner will take office in August, apparently. But why it has some attention, especially on the internet and in American audiences, is the prospect of an incoming Colombian bukele, Colombia's very own, which would change a number of things regarding international drug trade, national security, dealings with Colombia, etc., and all that Latin American violence and criminality. It's some of the newest in this round, what seems to be this like sweeping, what is this bukele fever seemingly sweeping Latin America here. Okay? Well, South America, maybe soon all of Latin America, Mexico, Central. But they're doing this election, right? And the guy who's getting all this attention is this like right wing, like I said, supposed to be this Bukele guy. Hold on. Bukele sort of guy. They call him Abelardo de la Espriella. Okay? And he's running against Ivan Cepeda. This left-wing guy, ally of the is it incumbent? You know, the current president that's like leaving, Gustavo Petro, a guy I've mentioned to you before. The guy is like his international PR is just terrible. I mean, the guy is just he talks his claim to fame internationally is talking ish about Trump and looking dumb. I forget exactly how dumb he looked, but it was something dumb. It was like, oh yeah, come do something. He looked so dumb, trying to be all tough with Trump and something bad happened with Colombia. I think economically, like maybe a trade deal or something. And it's just like bad governance. This guy is like messy personal life that's public. You know, messing around with. They call them ladies. And the sun is not out when they are out sometimes. And the guy is just like angry and he's fighting Trump and whatever. Total left-wing guy. Deep ties going back to the guerrilleros and those revolutionaries of Latin America. Okay, so whatever. Let me not spend too much time on this. Like the flavor of the Colombian election. The point is, this guy is this is the Bukele of Colombia, apparently. Incoming. Okay, let me show you. They're saying his odds are good, maybe. Colombian presidential candidate, the Tiger, they call him. El Tigre. And they're comparing him, drawing comparisons to El Salvador's Seco. You know, you're familiar with the massive prison center over there. They call it Seco. The Terrorism Confinement Center, Centro de Confinamiento del Terrorismo. So they got these. Oh, so that's it, right? This guy's looking like he might win. They're saying Colombia decides between these two. One guy that looks like Bukele and has the same kind of politics as Bukele over here. And then this other guy, apparently, who looks a bit like Trotsky. I don't know who made this image. Man who looks a bit like Trotsky and has the same kind of politics as Trotsky. Trotsky, wasn't he the I know the Marxists, the Bolshevik Marxists over there in Russia, USSR, very nasty stuff. But Trotsky specifically, what was it about him? Doesn't matter. Leon Trotsky, revolutionary Jew, over there in Russia. So, wait, am I getting the right guy? Do I have the right guy? Yes, he is Jewish. Okay. Yes, he is. Okay. Okay, so where were we? That's who they're deciding. Okay, I see you guys. Okay, calm down. Okay, guys, I'm going to have to ban. Your next person who does it is banned. You're banned. It's his cousin. It's Nick's cousin. Oh, it's his cousin. Okay, you're banned. I see you now. Actually, I haven't even looked at chat. It's Nick's. Okay, you're banned. Okay, you're banned. Is this what I'm going to look like when I'm older? I don't know. Look, moving on. Is that Pitbull? Who, on the left? They're saying he looks like Bukele, but I get more of a Dan Bongino here, you know? They're saying he looks like Bukele, but I'm getting more Dan Bongino here. I don't know if that affects how you feel about it, but... So Columbia decides, let's move on a little faster. It's a new Bukele. And they're wondering, and they're like, yeah, because mega prisons have worked so well. Says, I don't know, Wesley Blomquist? Are you just a troll? Are you just, oh, all right, buddy. All right, buddy, you're banned. Wesley, we just go to your X profile, and it's full of profanity against Trump and against ICE. Beautiful Trump, beautiful ICE. Terrible words against them. A progressive, anti-Trump, anti-ICE. Well, I don't know where this person got their information. Ah, yes, because mega prisons work so well. Snarky. I guess we'll just snark our way into hell. That's how these people think. They'll just endless snark while the world burns. Yeah, because putting criminals in prisons really worked. Well, let me show you another liberal, maybe. He's a reporter guy. Richard Madeley. He's a Brit. Okay? And he went to Seco over there in El Salvador and had to see it for himself. But he felt pretty bad for them. He actually felt pretty bad. He actually felt pretty bad for those prisoners he saw there until one little moment. I'll let you watch some of this.
He said,
Richard Madeley, British reporter here, reporting on the prisons in El Salvador, shocked at the treatment of these human beings. He thought it terrible until someone showed him exactly why these people are in here.
We talk about the good old days. And by the good old days, he meant rape, torture, executions, gang violence of a kind you wouldn't believe. I mean, these guys are the worst of the worst. It was really hard to process for all of us. And your immediate reaction when you walk into this terrible place, this extreme corner of the human zoo, your immediate reaction, it can't be anything other than pity for these human beings who've been kept in conditions like this. It's solved a huge crime problem. El Salvador was the most dangerous country really in the world, let alone in Central South America. The murder rate was 1 an hour. For every 100,000 members of the population, there were over 100 murders at one point, and that's now dropped to 8.
Yeah, because mass incarcerations. All right, buddy, you're banned. Yeah, because mega prisons have worked so well. Oh.
I mean, it's a phenomenal turnaround in the country's fortunes. And it wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for CECOT. So, yeah, there's this moral conundrum. I mean, at one point, I couldn't speak to the guy, but I was presented with a prisoner as closer to me than you are now, right there, in shackles, and his rap sheet was read out. And he was one of the gang's chief executioners, and he used his machete to execute people. And he had killed 5 amongst dozens of executions, he'd killed 5 workmen in one go. These were guys who were laying cables in the street, and they had accidentally strayed into the territory of a rival gang without seeking their permission to be there. And they were telling me this when suddenly the video was shoved under my face on a phone, and it was of him committing that execution, that mass execution, which he had arranged to be filmed so he could post online to show how ruthless the gangs would be. And it was the most, I mean, we all know about the ISIS beheading videos. It was like that. I won't go into too much detail, but I was seeing him, recognizably him, he hadn't covered his face, recognizably the man in front of me, macheteing to death and beheading these 5 innocent workmen. And when you start to absorb that side of the story, it makes you, it challenges your perceptions about CCOT.
Oh, it just starts to begin to challenge. You know what? Maybe these guys are here for a reason. You know what? You know, that beheading is a really terrible thing. You know what? Let me reconsider my moral conundrum with putting criminals in prison, even if it's a lot of them at once. And it looks industrial. And it looks like, I don't know, like a machine and sanitized and everybody's in the same clothes. It's like, that's not very nice. Well, now you have just begun to question that. And that is the beginning of everything, maybe, right? But yeah, it's crazy. You got to show them the beheading video. I mean, wasn't that guy, ex-KGB guy whose videos would always go around, and about the Yuri Bezmenov and how you can show the liberal or the progressive, you can tell them about the USS, or you could tell them the atrocities. You can show them, and they will still, I don't know, be pawns of the state or something like that. Because it's a spiritual battle. Because the world's a spiritual battle. Okay, Bukele. You got to show the liberals beheading for them to get it. But there is this, I don't know, there's this like wave of bukeles, of rising bukeles in Latin America. I don't know what that means. A big right-wing takeover in Latin America. I mean, it's interesting mainly because of Trump's change to the government. This faction that wants to do things a little bit different. They don't want to undo America. They don't want to take down the system, or they really just want to change it a little bit from within. They want to change our foreign policy a little. They don't want to be just left-wing woke everywhere. It's not working. It's not just the third world. We're okay with immigration, but it's gonna be very. You're gonna have to pay for it. We want the best. I don't know if I necessarily agree with everything with this faction, but I think it might have something to do with this. Some people are saying the death of USAID, the whole of South America is turning to the right. You know, all this left-wing, all these left-wing organizations with endless taxpayer money, endlessly supporting what we saw, where they were hiding, endlessly supporting literally every left-wing, some really insane stuff off the deep end, like I don't know, giving supporting VR communities in Somalia. Like, I made that one up, but it was that crazy. Could it be that this international money is propping up an international left-wing network? I mean, it's interesting things. Right-wing Fujimori, yeah. I don't know anything about this lady, but this is Peru's incoming, might be their new leader, Fujimori. Keiko Fujimori, over there in Peru. This is for Peru. Something you might not know. Peru, they had, I probably told you this before, but for a time, there was some time in history. What was it again? Whatever. Like, they brought in a bunch of Chinese people. Okay, this is in Peru's history. It doesn't matter. So that's why you have I want to say Chinese, but I don't know what she is, because Fujimori, I don't know if that's really a Chinese name. But yeah, a lot of Asians in Peru. It's a thing. But where was I? I think that's enough with the Colombian election stuff. Liberals feeling bad. about prisoners, thinking that you can't put criminals in jail. But I guess one last comment is, I don't know what's happening in Latin America, but a long, long time ago, Simón Bolívar, kind of like the Latin American Christopher Columbus, had a vision. He had a vision of uniting Latin America, but they all fought. They all had their own ideas, and they were not united. Even though they were all like Latin American, they were like, no, but I'm this kind of Latin American, and I'm this kind of Latin American. So they had their own ideas, and they fought. Simón Bolívar would express great sadness at the people unable to unite in a single nation, endlessly fractured. Could this be the unification of Latin America in the modern age? Only possible with the la mano dura, the strong hand of a man to get these people to work. Anyways, enough rambling about Latin America. Enough about that, because they're saying that they used to get along in this country. Is that true? The drunk Republican is letting you know. I don't know, that seems wrong, man. What do you mean, the drunk Republican? Wait a minute. The drunk Republican is saying Gen Zers don't remember a time when this country wasn't horribly divided. If your political memory starts with George W. Bush and only includes Obama and Trump, you probably just assume we were always this dysfunctional. But we weren't. We used to all hang out together and make fun of each other and stuff. Politics just weren't that big of a deal. Besides abortion, our biggest arguments, were over crap like marginal tax rates. I don't see it happening again anytime soon, but I'm glad I experienced it. I hope my kids get to one day as too. Thoughts on this one, folks? Thoughts on this one? We used to just get along, man. It wasn't that big of a deal. Come on, man. Now, where was this? Some people responding here. Because I wasn't there. But I do hear this a bunch. I do hear a bunch about how we used to not have such a divide. We used to not, for example, we used to want to go to the same place, just had different ideas on how to get there. Stuff I heard. I don't know how true that is. Do you guys know? People in the chat who may know, a little older maybe. The unks in the chat. Thoughts on this one? Because my general knee-jerk reaction is, I bet you these fault lines always existed. There's been division and fault lines for a long time. Before we were around, it goes back to they had a whole civil rights thing. But then even that's in question. Even that's in question for me because they try to tell us, well, no, the civil rights thing was important because people were getting oppressed, and it turns out, wait, they weren't? Hold on. You know, I feel like all these people I feel like this division was always there. Now, there's someone here who is responding. Aesthetica. People are failing to grasp that the 90s were not a stable or repeatable period of political utopia. The 90s were a temporary period of transition between the race communist revolution that started in the 60s and ended in 2020 with the BLM hysteria. I mean, the country, it really goes to the 60s, probably before, but consider the civil rights and all that. It's been a huge change that had to take some years, had to take some decades. But that is the different America right here. The transition between this race communist revolution. It seems every day now it's the normal stuff in everyday society is, well, I mean, what race is this person? Is it where in the hierarchy are they? Are they allowed to say this, do that? You have separate. You have like a race hierarchy. If you think we're going back to the race-blind cohesion of the 90s, you're delusional. As soon as you inject our society with race laws, racial preference cascades, racial hiring practices, infinity immigration, the only possible conclusion is racial conflict. I mean, without even answering how it really was in the 90s, if the drunk Republican is correct or not, this is the truth. If you had that, it's over because of what you've injected. They don't get to put the genie back in the bottle and say, oopsie, after they destroyed the lives of an entire generation of young white men. I don't want peace with the people who did this. I want them crying in despair in a dark hole. Yeah, is this person maybe angry? I don't know. Some of those comments make you think like, is everything rational? That's why you're taking everything with a grain of salt, but this is interesting too, no? I don't know where the drunk Republican gets it, but, you know, people were sharing in response to this how, for example, the lack of race-blind social cohesion during the O.J. Simpson trial. This is, again, before, not something I was really aware of. But a lot of people share this image, though, comparing the blacks and whites in this image and their reactions to the O.J. Simpson verdict. You see these white people over here, a little shocked. They have this, like, a long face. They got a long face. Like, what? How did that happen? I don't know the deets of the whole thing. Some of you guys are like, yeah, he totally did it. And I don't doubt that. It's just not something I'm super familiar with. But you see the black people in this image are celebrating. Like, yeah, he got. And I have gathered over the years, like, why, you know, the conflict in this image. Okay, that blacks were essentially cheering him on, like escaping, like the assumption of innocence. And I don't know if it's the assumption of criminality on the white side, but maybe it was just the facts or whatever. But that's what I've gathered over the years, that this was the conflict. They saw these black people as really just looking at his skin color. But where was I here? Interesting conversations people were having on X.com. And I don't know where he gets this. Like, they were putting this racial hierarchy crap since the 60s. Get off the alcohol, drunk Republican. Maybe you're go home. You're drunk. Anyways, messing around. Interesting combos. We didn't care about politics in the 90s. Is that true? It may be, he's maybe somewhat right about some things, I bet. And who knows if this drunk Republican is a male. But it's two comments that seem to ring true of the era that others might disagree with is, one, maybe, yeah, people didn't care so much about politics. Not like everybody back then in these 90s they're talking about. And maybe at one point the two sides really did want to arrive to the same place, just had different ways to get there. But a lot of maybes, okay? Maybe you tell me. If you were around, you tell me. Let me move on. 888-775-3773. If you were around, let me know. Just some interesting things. But you know what I was around for? I was around for Woke 1.0. Oh, I was there. I was there when let me pull some of this up. I was definitely there. Where were you? What's that song? Where were you? What's that one? Alan Jackson, right? Where were you? When the world stopped turning. Where were you? What are the lyrics to that? Sorry. Alan Jackson, song about the terrible attacks on 9/11. Were you in your yard? Okay, shout out Alan Jackson. But where was I? Where were you during Woke 1.0? Because I remember it. George Floyd. You know, it's crazy. They went nuts. Besides the already prevailing insanity of racism, so-called racism, we're taught slavery for all this stuff growing up, and whites can't be racist. Then a black man died from a drug overdose, and the chaos going on within him. His little heart was unable to, and I don't really know. I forget the details. Like, I'm recounting some of the things I may remember. I may be remembering them wrong, because there was two coroner reports or whatever. Like Hennepin County, they went and got one when they didn't like what the coroner said. Yeah, I mean, he had a lot of fentanyl in their system. They didn't like what they said. They went out and got somebody to say, no, it was the racist cop and his knee on their neck. So you remember it was nuts. They were rioting. And besides the rioting, it was all this thinking, all this creative, modern thinking, what to do with the cops, what to do with society. And in fact, many had no solutions, and they were like, you know what, we don't have to have one. We just need to tear it down. You just need to tear it down. Why? Because you have to. Because it's racist. I don't know what it'll look like, but you just have to tear it down. This guy's going viral on the internet for his comment here. I don't know who this person is, but they're going viral. And this is what they said. This is what they wrote. For those of us, nearly everyone, who recognize Woke 1.0 as a failure, what's something specific you're willing to say it got wrong? Here's mine. The practice of describing policies that were, like Kerner Commission recommendations, as prison abolition to get attention was dumb. In a lot of cases, it felt like people just wanted to say they supported something attention-catching and radical to show that they had evolved from past failures, because the actual substance that they laid out was rarely ever more than bread-and-butter liberal crime policy. Like, that's cute. That's a cute retcon of a history. That must be nice. You, I don't know, you and your friends, you're like reading your little post. You're like, yeah, I mean, that was silly, guys. We were playing, and we were wrong. You know what? Woke 1.0, we were wrong. We were wrong. And what we were wrong about was pretending about this. Like, take this in. This person's trying to say that when they were running around saying abolish the police, it was just merely a Kerner Commission-like recommendation. Now, I don't know much about the Kerner Commission, but it's one of these think tanks, national advisory commissions, organizations with money, sometimes privately or public or otherwise, that work to create policy for their ideology, right? Like the Heritage Institute does it like as a conservative think tank for the conservative movement or whatever. That's all it was. It was just an academic, hoity-toity academic Kerner Commission recommendation to just get you to think, man. To just get you to, like, expand your mind, okay? But we were really going to abolish the prison. It gets even more insane when you break down what they're saying in their second comment here. That we only said that because we wanted to show you we evolved from past failures. But what is this evolution? The evolution is abolishing prisons. What is the past failure? The existence of criminality or what? Like, it's very insane. So they're trying to retcon the whole thing, trying to say that we never meant it. Never forget. Lest we forget. New York Times. Yes, we mean literally abolish the police. No. Let's correct you. Yes, we mean literally abolish the police, because reform won't happen. I remember this article. The whole idea is that abolishing the police and all that, it's not even just about, there's the minorities have minorities are they're incarcerated more. That means racism. No, even if you could fix that, even if you could snap your fingers and fix it where you didn't have a disparity in incarceration rates. This is what this article was saying. They said, even if you did that, we must still abolish the police because the system must come down. And why must it come down? Because at its core, it's evil, racist, oppressive. So it's not about like fixing this or that. You need to just take it all down. Something new must come in its place. That's what they say about climate change. They're like, no. Even if you could, deal with runaway temperatures or something like that, climate change, the changing of the system. I forget which article it was I was reading. I wish I had it. They were saying, they were basically doing the yes, we mean literally abolish the police thing, but with climate change. They were saying something to the effect of climate change discourse must continue until society is like overturned, until something new comes in its place, because that's what it's really about. It's not really about the climate. And so they're trying to rewrite history here. Like they weren't talking about the most insane things. Comic books, they were making comics about it. I'm Mariam Kaba, director of Project Neon, prison abolitionist. Is prison abolition a hard thing to explain to people? I get the same questions. She is here having an imaginary conversation. What about bad people? What about rapists? Someone asks her. I don't answer these questions anymore. These are questions I don't even answer anymore. They're not even worth answering anymore. Because I don't know what a world without prisons will look like. And then in the background, the cranes of freedom are dismantling the oppressive walls of a prison, I guess. I don't know what a world without prisons will look like, but it will fundamentally transform our relationship with other people. The end. That's the comic. That's the whole comic. The end. The comic. This little illustration. I don't know. Is supposed to assuage you. I don't know. Convince you. It brought up a really good question. Well, what about actual criminals? It attempted to add. Made no attempt to answer that, ignored it, told you that they're ignoring that, and said, this incoming world, I don't know what it will look like, but it will be different. The end. And so you're just supposed to accept it. What if this sanitized little cartoon, what if it doesn't look like that? What if behind these prison walls are rapists, criminals? Because look, in this comic, they're just like, I don't know, little nondescript purple beings. Imprisoned by the oppressive prison system. So they're trying to rewrite history, okay? They're trying to lie about it. Gaslight you. They're trying to gaslight you. And what could be behind, like, what could be behind such a thing? It's a spiritual, it has to be spiritual, right? Like, I'm just going to not ever admit I'm wrong. That's far too spiritually difficult. So we have to rewrite history itself. Anyways. The woke RETCON. Anyways, I got other things for you here. But I want to get to Ross out of New Jersey. Ross, I appreciate your call. You're on the air.
How you doing today, Nick?
All is well, Ross.
We're looking at everything always from different angles, right? But when we go to science and we look at what the male and the female are, the female is the XX and the male is the XY. And until Elon brought in the communication system and renamed it X, the men were always held out of the women's conversations. But now with X, we're all equal, so we all have two X's.
So we're all men?
Well, we're all double X's plus the Y.
And what were we being left out of?
The women's conversations, whatever they were. They were the communicators, and we were the outside men that would go out and bring in the goods for the woman because she was always the queen of the home.
Was it like a Are you telling me that like it was generally surprising to see what women were really thinking and saying?
No, it's good to hear it though.
But to those men
But
that grew up, like
sometimes-
you were saying, maybe like she was the queen of the home, and you weren't aware of their conversation. Are you saying that? Are you surprised, Ross, by how women are thinking and feeling?
I'm not surprised. I just know the world is basically two things, either communication or competition. And when you basically break it down to those two things, everyone that excels are ones that practice their skills and they end up growing, and the rest of us watch and admire.
I see. I think so. I see. What kind of
So now that
conversations
we're
were
all
we left
even-
out of?
Well, the ones that were inside, while you were outside working or away or on a trip, wherever the man had to go to bring back resources. Sometimes he had to get in a boat,
And
a
what's
plane,
to get
a
resources?
train. What's that?
And so, is that why he was left out of the women's conversations?
Yeah, because they would be on the phone comparing each of their husbands to one another.
Mm-hmm. And the men didn't
That's
know that
the
they were doing that.
Well, I'm sure they knew when they got home. The wife might say something, or they might get yelled at.
So what
when
changed?
you live in two separate Elon Musk brought everyone together on AI so we can all communicate together now.
So X and the internet, now you know, now you're communicating more, you're saying, or at least you know what they're saying when before you didn't.
I think everyone's being more honest by talking by themselves through a microphone and through a camera than they were if they were standing in front of someone's face.
And why is that?
I don't know. Because when you're standing eye to eye, all of a sudden you either have emotions or you want to fight.
Fair enough. Ross.
I don't understand what happens when you get in person, because your other three senses come into vulnerability.
Explain, what did you just say?
Your other three senses become a vulnerability.
When you meet someone
Your
in person.
taste is- when you meet someone in person, your taste, your smell, and your touch.
And why are those vulnerabilities?
Because you don't feel them through the internet.
You're saying that by adding those, you can be fooled or something?
Well, by adding those things, you are able to increase your character one way or the other.
I don't understand, Ross. Sorry.
That's all right. We're all working, man. That's it. That's the secret. We just keep going and see what happens. So
That's all we can do.
Well, now we got X, and we get to see everybody on TV on all the thousands and thousands of channels or millions of channels. So we're starting to put a story together called AI. And it's going to best lead us into the future.
Now that everyone's on the internet, putting their lives on the internet, is there anything about the younger generations that surprises you, that you were maybe shocked about or anything like that?
How receptive they are.
What do you mean by that?
Like they pretty much go either way. They're more like a tide, more like the ocean. They come in, they go out. They're not really worried about things. They figure, they've been getting taken care of for a long time, so why worry about it now?
I see. Kind of spoiled?
What's that?
Kind of spoiled?
Well, it all depends how far you go back to compare yourself to another person, and then you see your vulnerabilities and you see your strengths. We've grown our brain so much stronger by continuously pumping teachings into it. and routines and everything else. So some people have a lot stronger brain, but men are starting to feel inadequate, so they're returning to the gyms to build up and bulk up instead of going back outside where they got their original muscles from.
I can understand some of that, Ross.
Well, it's just going from a caveman to an indoor dweller because of dirt. Basically, you get too dirty and sweaty and hot, and you're out of the inclement weather. You get air conditioning and heat when you're inside, no matter where you are. So you're always running around the same degrees. When you expose yourself to the outside, you have to go with nature and see what she has to deal with. So you're always either buying more clothes or taking clothes off.
But we're never going back. Pandora's box is open.
We're never going back.
You can't put the genie back in the bottle. We're not going to the caves. We got to figure out a new thing to do with the women and the workforce.
The cave is there every day. It's right in front of your eyes when you wake up. It's called a mirror.
Interesting, Ross. Can you say again?
You judge yourself every morning. You look in the mirror, don't you?
I guess so. Yeah. I try.
So that's our cave.
Okay, Ross. Can you call me again?
Sure. Take care.
Call me again, Ross, New Jersey. Appreciate it, man.
Bye-bye.
888-775-3773. The parents who let their daughter die. You seen this one? I couldn't help but keep reading this one. So I thought I'd present it for you. Now, I don't think there's any clips here. But the story centers around these parents. Omar and Sissy Decker, parents to Iris. Let me just pull this up. In a case that has some international attention because it involves a 16-year-old whose life was ended early, and it was deemed medically sound over there in the Netherlands, okay? Let me just pull this story up. Let me see here. Oh, here it is. Euthanasia. And it's a story. Look, I'm going to try and get through the parts that I collected to summarize. At some point, we'll go back to the article, and it's a little bit it's not like terribly long, but we'll be like kind of going through some of these paragraphs, and because the details kind of go in and kind of go here, go there. So we'll get into it here. Hold on. But yeah, we're going to Netherlands. Apparently it's the name of a place. It's called Bergen op Zoom. You know, not a very familiar nomenclature for naming cities / states / countries / usually have just like one thing, right? Like, I don't know, like one word or one name. I'm not familiar with the language, but it goes like, there seems to be 3 words here. Bergen op Zoom, city in the Netherlands. I think. Bergen op Zoom. Yeah, a city. It's a city. It's a city, folks. And these parents were the parents of... I'm sorry, 19 was when... 19 is when they ended her life. But yeah, the parents who let their daughter die, this Free Press article centering on their story. And their daughter, Iris, who had been suffering with depression, suicidal ideation, had even attempted suicide a few times. And this was all before 15 years old. All before 15 years old. Let's see, I think Iris is here somewhere. There she is. Iris Decker. Okay. Now, what in the world, how could it be that this person was offered euthanasia? They had a whole thing trying all these other treatments. But how do you get here, right? Now, you read the story and they tell you, well, this person had severe depression, so much depression, it developed into a functional neurological disorder. This person was having symptoms like seizure and paralysis, being even wheelchair bound at times. So daughter Iris, born 2006, struggled for years with this depression. Multiple suicide attempts right up to around the age of 15 with an attempted hanging, an attempted wrist slitting. They were then isolated by the pandemic, and they say that their symptoms worsened significantly. Iris would tell her mother, can you put a pillow over my head so I can die? At 16 years old, she applied for euthanasia, something that's legal in the Netherlands for minors in certain cases, even without parental consent in some contexts. So where was I? Where did I put the details here? Because how did I want to present this? Yeah, I think I'll just go through some of the details here in the article. Sissy and Omar Decker. You know, for 3 years at their home in the historic town in the Netherlands, Omar and Sissy began each day the same way, trying to wake their teenage daughter and trying to coax her into a life she no longer wanted. Sissy, a former forensic nurse, asked Iris what she could do for her. She would say, can you put a pillow over my head? Make my suffering stop. Depression was not new to the Deckers. Omar, the father, has a history of it, as do other members of the family. But Iris's was different. Her symptoms were psychological and physical, a condition called functional neurological disorder. Basically had her wheelchair bound a lot. They described seeing an emptiness and a black hole of depression in her. Her symptoms began early in her adolescence. At the age of 13, she began to complain about a constant pain and depression, but she pushed through it at school while babysitting, playing tennis, relying on a combination of painkillers and antidepressants. You know, these little details that kind of go maybe unnoticed, but here's one of them. Before even the age of 15, this person attempted suicide twice, ended up on painkillers and antidepressants. Let me make it clear. They were on these painkillers and antidepressants before the suicide attempts. Another detail. They developed functional neurological disorder after the suicide attempts. You got to wonder if trying to hang yourself, and what else? Trying to slit your wrists, and then full of all that hell, you got to wonder if you can mess up your nerves or something, and then now you can't really walk that well. They'll say, well, depression caused this FND, but you got to wonder. Don't you wonder? You got to wonder if it wasn't the depression, if it was trying physically harming yourself. But yeah, so that's one of those are some two details there, right? Before 15, on antidepressants, painkillers. Later in the article, you find out that they were giving her tranquilizers to the point where she had to consider joining an addiction clinic. More on that later, or should I just tell you now? Well, So this person is this Iris is offered at 16 euthanasia after not getting any better with the depression and multiple suicide attempts. They're told, hey, this is available to you, but you're not allowed to do it unless you try everything else. You got to try everything else before trying something like this. One of the at some point, Iris is wheelchair bound, on tranquilizers, and is having trouble walking. So they start giving her. They tell her, well, you know what? One thing you could do is we can start doing therapy so that you can walk again. But before starting that, you need to kick the tranquilizers. So you got to enter this addiction treatment. She would go on to not try it, and it would be too much. The idea of having to get off the tranquilizers, go to the addiction rehab thing, and then do the therapy to walk again seemed insurmountable. That's quotes from Iris. I tell you those details because they go through this article like it's this, like, I don't know, it just seems they're trying to make it sound so normal, some of these details. And, I'm just Iris, and, now I'm on tranquilizers. There's nothing normal about, like, okay, now we're going to try and have you walk again. But first you're addicted to tranquilizers. So now first we got to deal with that. Like, there's nothing normal about any of that. So the symptoms, okay, the pandemic hit. As lockdown stretched on, Iris retreated into her room, away from her friends, away from everything. At 15, she tried to kill herself twice. And there was an attempted hanging, the wrists. This part is to tell you, again, one of those details you may not notice. You might think, well, she was so depressed she can't walk. No. Don't get the timeline wrong. First, she was depressed at 13, got on the drugs and all that. Then the pandemic hit. Then she freaked out about that, overreacted, tried killing herself. Then they told her, hey, by the way, have you considered euthanasia? And this is after being wheelchair bound for a bit because of all that stuff. So whatever, blah, blah, blah. I'm trying to get through some of these details. I mean, hopefully you've gathered that some of these things don't seem right. They don't seem right on the doctor's part, on the parents' part. And they try to make this whole article seem like, well, I mean, we tried everything. The doctors tried everything, but some people they shouldn't be in this world. Some people shouldn't be alive or whatever. This is not the life they should live. And it's like, whatever. I'm not here saying everybody should live. Nobody should. Like, I'll let Crip Mac do that. Hey, don't commit suicide. I mean, it's not about being glib or hating them. It's just life is for those who want to live, essentially. And you got to understand too the damage you do in trying so much, I don't know, trying really hard to have someone else live. You don't realize the damage you do in trying really hard to get someone else to live. You don't know how evil the mind is and the thrill it gets from seeing others try for you. You don't know how selfish the mind can be when contemplating this suicide. You think, well, Nick, it's like there's something true about this, right? Nobody wants to actually die. Something real was obviously going on with her. You can't just give her ignore your, drop the thoughts, drop the anger. Something was, because no 60-year-old actually wants to go through with it and die. You don't understand how evil the mind is, how I can get a thrill from, it's like nobody loved me, but you know what? Look at all this attention I'm getting now that I want to kill myself. You don't know how evil the mind is. And the damage you do by playing along with someone's evil words of, I want to die. No, don't die. Don't kill yourself. That's not a conversation. That's not a back and forth. That's an evil, demonic back and forth that you don't want to really have. Okay? So blah, blah, blah. I mean, like, there's a lot of details to this, and I'm trying not to be too long-winded. But let me see if I can just give you some quick ones. What else about this? Look, they're suggesting euthanasia. This was supposed to be this like rare thing for people whose bodies, whose physical, where their bodies, there was no chance of them recovering. They're terminally ill. And in no time at all, it became like a way out for people with psychological distress. If they don't want to live, that's not on you, the doctors, the society, the parents. I'm not saying just go. It shouldn't be facilitated by all those people because they don't even know. One really interesting aspect of this article is they put a lot of attention into what the doctors told her. And after every therapy that they tried, they ended up with the same conclusion. And they tried really radical ones because this person wanted to die by euthanasia. And before you're allowed to do that, you got to try all the radical ones like electroshock therapy, ketamine treatments. This person, they gave them like drugs and like psychedelics and stuff to see if that worked. After every single therapy, the doctors told them, sorry, it didn't work. And of course it did. By the way, how do you conclude that? Because she wasn't happier. She would say, I don't feel better. So the doctors concluded it didn't work, and you have a resistant depression. What did they call it? A treatment resistant depression. Essentially, I mean, these doctors were telling them, oh, you're not going to get better. But it's also twisted because this person like wanted to die, so they were only going through the motions to die, and it's just like I don't want my euthanasia application to be rejected, so I'm just going to do all these things. Knowing that they weren't, if you wanted to die, how are you going to get better doing all these therapies just to go through the motions? And then on top of that, when they tell you, I'm sorry, it didn't work, and you get depressed over that, saying, oh, I don't know, I guess they'll never get better. Your mindset was the wrong part at the beginning. Like, I know there's a lot of details here, but hopefully you see how this is messed up on multiple levels. The mindset of the young person here who doesn't know what's going on with them and is really excited at this whole like depression thing. And then they took that really far. Now they can't walk. They tried killing themselves. Now they're in a wheelchair. Now it's like, I really hate my life. Really really end my life. It seemed like at every turn, there was people who were too afraid to just like, I don't know, say something different than what the world was saying. Well, I mean, I don't know, you're just depressed. Imagine the parents for a moment. Okay, well, we'll do a shock therapy. And then imagine you're the parent and then they do shock therapy and you're just like, did it work, doctor? And then the doctor says it didn't. Look at your daughter, she's still depressed. And then you throw your hands up like, you didn't stop to think at all that this was insane from the beginning? Like, shock therapy? She didn't need all that. Anyways, blah, blah, blah. The parents who let their daughter die. I mean, a lot of this just doesn't make sense. Give me 1 sec, folks. Hold on. Pardon. Sorry about that. I had to run over there for a moment. So what else about this? We're supposed to leave people in their hell, I thought. Yeah, exactly. You might push them into worse hell. And I don't know exactly what happened here, but I don't think the parents helped, like, going along with their delusions. But whatever. Let me move on. Too many details here to get straight. Okay. Medical world won't let go of this depression thing. I know I'm not a doctor, but it seems like I've spoken to doctors and professionals. I mean, a lot of people just don't buy that stuff. It just sounds like something they have to say. I mean, I don't know, a bunch of doctors said it, and I didn't believe it, but then my kid came to me and started saying, I'm depressed. I don't want to just say it's totally not right. But it seems like a lot of people just don't buy it, and there's no proof of it. There's no proof. There's just no proof of it. And the medical world has no. They have a little bit. For example, FND. I was looking this up because I was wondering. Let's say, does the medical world at all, even just a little bit, account for, I don't know, fibbers, people who lie to get a thrill, to say, oh, I have this or that problem, but not because they actually have that problem, because they have an ulterior motive. I'm like, does the medical world account for that at all? Yeah, they have words for it. It's called malingering. And in the case of FND, where a patient comes in saying, I am unable to move my body correctly. My motor function is not, I can't move it correctly. But the doctors, at that moment, doctors are able to test if the muscles and the nerves still work. Even though you say one thing, there's a way to test that. So they do. I mean, they could take the little hammer, hit it to the knee. There's other things. They call it for FND, they call it Hoover's sign. It's called Hoover's sign. You hold both legs down, and you hold one foot down as they're lying down, and you tell the patient to lift the other leg. And if the foot you're holding down pushes the opposite way from the other leg, that's called Hoover's sign. It's a classical test for functional leg weakness. And if the other leg moves, they're basically lying or something like that. So I was just wondering, you can, and so this is something they do commonly. They'll ascertain that your body works correctly, but if you stick to it and say, well, I can't though, doctor, I swear, I really mean it, I can't move, they'll give you an FND diagnosis, so to speak. And they'll have it in the notes or something that they checked, but that's just how it goes. The patient is reporting an ability to move. So anyways, sorry. Details that are coming to me when I was reading this article, a little bit messy. Let's move on to the Marta. Can we move on? Let's move on. Whatever. Let us move on. Because I got two more interesting things for you here before we go. Two more. I think you'll find these interesting. Two more things for you here. Concerning, I was just telling you about, the medical world a bit and misconceptions one might have. I was remembering something Jesse said about the economy. And I know a lot of people are worried about the economy. They're like, this guy, I voted for this president. Now the gas prices are doing. Now my whole life is ruined. My whole entire life is ruined. I'm afraid for my life. I'm afraid for my future. So what are you doing for Memorial Day? Vacation? What do you mean? What do you think I'm doing for Memorial Day? And that was an interesting commentary Jesse had about, the world, society. It seems like all sorts of people have everything. They'll repeat everything on the news. They'll tell you, oh, it's economic worries. It's worse than ever. I'm afraid for my way of life. And then you get other people who think they're smart too saying, hey, you know what? These are real people with real concerns, Mr. President. I, too, now have concerns, and I'm wondering why I voted for you. And yet Memorial Day 2026 set new records, as these things happen every year. About 45 record million Americans traveled between May 21st to 25th. An increase from last year's 44 million. Incredible. Record. They're setting records here. Roughly 39 million by car, the vast majority, 87%. Many more by air, 3 million by air. But yeah, 39, the vast majority were driving on that expensive gas. This all held despite higher gas prices, the highest since 2022. It's been years of record high gas. And yet it's record. They broke records on traveling, on spending, on traveling by air, on all these things. They noted retail shopping surveys indicated more people shopping than ever, and then it peaked on Memorial Day. Broader e-commerce projections are showing we're approaching 11 billion in revenue, another record-breaking year in America. And I was wondering to myself, now Jesse and I can't be the only ones seeing this very interesting relationship between what the consumer says and what the consumer does. Now, I can't be the only one. I'm like doing some research because I'm like, I bet you some fancy schmancy economists, academic type people, I bet you anything, they have a metric for this. I bet you they have data on this. And it's just and it's just the rest of us dummies, pawns for the media and the political class that endlessly fight about this. Yeah, turns out it is. Turns out there is. Okay, it's called the consumer where is it? It's called the sentiment spending paradox. Okay, this is pretty interesting. It's in fact called the sentiment spending paradox, or the sentiment spending disconnect. Refers to the phenomenon where consumers report high economic pessimism in surveys but continue spending aggressively in the real world. Isn't that interesting? They have words for it. They have metrics for this. They have data and metrics. They in fact have come up with terms to describe this. And while they know the truth, which is they are saying one thing but doing another, in fact, the doing another is record-breaking. More money than ever. More spending than ever. So they know the truth. They say that the people of the society are saying one thing and doing another. They know this. The media knows this. The economists know this. The political class knows this. The people running SimCity knows this. They all know this. And yet they'll still put it in the news and tell you, it's time to be afraid of the gas prices. And then you go out there and repeat it. You go out there and you repeat it. That is fascinating to me. They actually have a metric for it. It's called like I was just telling you, what is it called again? Sentiment spending paradox or disconnect. And economists basically, they know the truth. They know these people are lying. They're just saying what the news told them. And that's not to say that there aren't problems, that there aren't, let's say, even negative trends. But these negative trends and problems, etc., are nowhere near to the point where it's actually affecting how you live, because that is a fine metric. I don't think that's a bad metric. When people actually start changing their consumer habits, buying less gas, buy whatever it is, that is a cause for, I don't know about concern, but it is a metric that tells you what's happening. The funny thing is, it's not happening. The shoe hasn't dropped. This is merely what people are saying. And the news won't tell you this. The media won't tell you this. It's just a political game. They don't like the guy right now. And this guy is not so nice for them, for their plans and their own machinations and their own enrichment. And you could say, well, this is Trump's enrichment and machinations. Not the argument I'm having right now. But that is why they put that in the media, to get you to freak out over this and make some comments so that they could film you saying it and they could say, see, look at what these people care about. This is a bad president. sentiment spending paradox. They have data on this. They have data on how y'all are lying and crying and lying. Incredible. The sentiment spending paradox. What else about this? They're breaking records, folks. They're breaking records. Okay. Consumer sentiment confidence indices. What else about this? Yeah, the actual confidence indice. It shows that the American consumer feels pessimistic due to inflation, gas pricing, housing costs, all the things they were told. Actual behavior metrics, personal consumption expenditures, retail sales, TSA passenger volumes, credit card and verified purchase data, travel booking, category-specific spending. All breaking records. So anyways, do with that how you will. do with that whatever you want. Because the real problem, the real woe or economic downturn or bad signs of the economy, it's not these like short-term things that are simply tools and vehicles to change things, like, for example, this high gas price. It's like the high gas price because of the high oil price because of all the revving they're doing over in the Middle East. Donald Trump knows better than you that the moment they stop, that all tumbles. Right? These are all just like short-term vehicles to affect some change. The real like woe, the real like, what's it called? Like a bad trend and terrible trend, really. Emergency, like ring the alarm trend in the economy. It's not like when they tell you the gas prices or stuff like that. No. Here's what you don't get about that. The people running the economy care about running it more than you. So they're not just going to let the gas prices go wild and inflation go wild until it all collapses. They want to make money. You really don't want to make money. You're kind of lazy. You don't really care. They do want to make money. So they have they want to keep things running. The real signs of economic woes and troubles, it's stuff like this. It's not when they tell you the gas prices, or what's it called? Interest rates. You're like, oh, and you're like scratching your head. You're like, what are we gonna do about the economy? No, it's when it's stuff like this. It's stuff like where did I put it? It's stuff like, where did I put it? It's people. Now, this is just anecdotal, but hopefully I can find the stats on this real. But I've collected some posts and stats about how, for example, the majority of labor this year went to foreign workers. Men like for the first time are a minority in the workforce. Those things, those are the real like bellwethers of economic woes, of like the economy is bad, because the economy is people, right? The economy is the people. It's not like the interest rates and the gas prices. No, it's like, well, what percentage of jobs went to H-1Bs? What percentage of, like I just said, for the first time, women are outnumbering men in the workplace, and they're out-earning them and out-earning them in degrees and stuff. It's that kind of stuff. It's stories like this. Again, anecdotal. I don't know how true. I work for a company that you probably think is an American company. To illustrate the problem with tech so people have real numbers, I have a daily meeting with 37 people on it. 22 of them are Indian. At least 7 of them are H-1B. I have a second meeting for only onshore developers to discuss new tech. 22 developers on this meeting, and 9 of them are H-1B. We hired 3 new grad software engineers, all female. One of them, and I'm not exaggerating, could not program. As in, could not write a simple if statement, which is a coding thing. I worked with her for an hour a day, 3 weeks, trying to get her to understand she needed to be putting in hours outside of work until she finally quit. They hired another developer, another female. Only 22% of new grad software developers are female, and we hired 4 in a row. This is why young men are so mad, getting replaced by H-1Bs. And on the other end, the entire 22% of females, even if they literally cannot write code, get hired before a man is hired. I mean, there's countless stories like this. And that's your little segment on the economy, okay? And that's your little segment on the economy, okay? Incredible. Some of you are saying I'm setting records on how much I spend on gas. Yeah, see, records, folks, records. We got records. Okay. Amazing. Incredible. Okay. What this means is that people don't want to pay for the things that they can't live without. They want to spend their money on luxury items. It also means they can, Doom Jesus, right? It also means they can, because what you actually do is really the indicator of what's actually happening. What you actually do is the indicator of how you actually feel about your life and what you actually want to do, not what you say. That's really the lesson, Doom Jesus. And so what else? What are y'all saying? All right, let's keep it moving here, because I got another thing for you. I've got another thing for you. In the last bit of the show, and I do appreciate you being with me, how about we do a little check here? I appreciate it. Thank you for the coffees. What the? Buymeacoffee.com/anchor, baby. Always supportive, always generous. Someone. Who are you? Thank you for the support. Buymeacoffee.com/anchor, baby. Amazing. All right, so sentiment spending paradox. Are we done with this? I mean, we're pretty much done with this. One sentiment people were describing, concerning this conversation, I find it interesting to mention, is like the tech bro delusion. The tech bros are like, you guys there's no reason to black pill. There's no reason to black pill. AI will create new jobs. New technologies will create new jobs. It's going to create more. It's going to create more pie to go around. It's called Javon's paradox or something. As new tech like takes old jobs, it actually creates new jobs. And so the tech bros on the internet, like Shyam Sankar, are very they're not black pilling. They're very positive. They're like, it's great, guys. It's tech. It's amazing. And I like the positivity too. But some are like, guys, the one reason we're not vibing with you tech bros and you sound delusional is because something like a third of men are out of the labor force and half of jobs over the past 18 years have gone to cheap foreign workers. So there you go. That's what I was just saying. So there you go. We could wrap it up. That's your little segment on the economy. That's your little segment. What else? The Dow is at 50K. Can't believe we're talking about this. Are you saying that's good? That sounds good. You're saying we can't believe we're talking about this because you're agreeing with me how silly people are apoplectic about some news about high gas prices, right? That's why you're saying that, right? Right? All right. Let us move on here, because I want to paint a picture for you. Imagine for a moment the walls of a grand city, a clean city, a beautiful city of marble and white, and of many resources, a shining city many would want to enter. Imagine for a moment the denizens of such a city, building up a big wall. And when you near this wall, this border, all you see on the other side is hordes of brown and black individuals clawing and climbing and screaming. And those people in the city saying, "You cannot come in." You'd think, Nick, what sort of racist / sci-fi novel are you writing? What sort of novel are you writing here? Because obviously this is like some sci-fi novel where you have some sort of like alien or like some sort of like groups of people. You know, these people cannot be let into the city walls for they will destroy it. Or you're writing some sort of racist fanfic. Like, what are you talking about, Nick? Because that's not in reality such a scene. You can't even show me video. Oh, wait, hold on. Hold on. We are in fact receiving video. Hold on. We are in fact receiving footage, I believe. We are just getting this now. Footage out of Spain. They're saying this is Spain.
Madre mía, madre mía. Dios. Qué fuerte.
Hordes. I'm talking about hordes. Hordes. Yeah, the visual is utterly mad, wrote this person as a caption. And it really is, just in terms of just the visuals, right? We talk about certain things like this all the time. We're maybe not surprised, but the visuals, that the visuals exist. And that this video even exists. Like, I agree, the visual is utterly mad. Elon Musk himself, I mean, he had to ask his very own Grok, like, what are we looking at? Is this real? Elon Musk, in the comments of this, and on his own platform on this website, he asked Grok himself, he posted the conversation. Yeah, video shows authentic May 30th, 2026 footage of dozens of migrants, mostly young African men, attempting to scale the border fence at Ceuta, one of Spain's North African enclaves, during a mass entry attempt amid high tension. And I heard the following as well, but that they were spurred on by the government's recent approval back in April of 500,000 undocumented migrants who were already living in Spain. They were given residence and work permits, which many said that this is a pathway, even if it might take some time, but a pathway to citizenship. Many were saying this, and many of those were very critical of the Spanish government doing such a thing. It didn't make sense to them why these undocumented, these illegals, were given a special treatment and basically on a pathway to citizenship. Many in Spain saw it as wrong. More of this replacement of the very Spanish in their own country. Incredible, right? It's just such a video, right? It's insane. The scenes. I did have questions, though. I mean, I did think about it a little bit. I'm like, wait a second. Africa and Spain. Now, I mean, I'm no expert, but I'm pretty sure they don't share a border. Upon looking it up, it's true. They don't share a border. There is a sea between Spain and Africa. You know, I'm just like left wondering, right? Like, where is this video? Because again, they don't share a border. Like, are they is the sea is right past this fence, the ocean? Were they arriving in the dinghies and boats when they make this treacherous crossing from North Africa to Spain, the Gibraltar Strait, or whatever they call it, and the Strait of Gibraltar, getting across? It's like a 15 to 30 kilometer cross. It's not the easiest thing, but many do it. Many also die doing it. No, that's not why. Turns out this video is down here. in the city of, is it city or even city-state? What is Ceuta? Ceuta, the autonomous city of Spain. It is an autonomous city. So yeah, it's like a city-state known as Ceuta over there in North Africa. Imagine that. Yeah. It's that what happened basically is Spain, they own this little corner. They own this little spot here. And entering this area would be tantamount to entering Spain. Entering this area, which is separated by the sea from actual mainland Spain, is Spain. This is Ceuta, the autonomous city-state Ceuta of Spain. There's another one like this in Africa. It's called what's it called? Is it Milesia? What's it called? Spain. They have another spot like this somewhere in Africa that's similar to Ceuta. Somewhere, I bet you I could find it. Because it's like down here somewhere. It's like way off over here. There it is. It's called Melilla. Again, it's similar to Ceuta. It's like an autonomous city-state. Entering the borders would be the same as entering Spain and entering the European Union. And this is where it gets weird and really stupid. Because of that, entering Ceuta means that you can say you can claim asylum. You can claim asylum. Entering this little sliver would be entering the promised land. That's why they're trying so hard. And in fact, that's what already happens in practice. Because Ceuta is fully part of Spain and European Union territory, what happens is if you make it in there, you're taken to a temporary stay center for immigrants, CETIs over there. And many, according to WTEU, many are later transferred to mainland Spain by ferry or plane. From there, they can pursue their asylum claims or legal processes. Imagine that. You have a sea. You have the sea between you and Africa. But because you own this little sliver and you have, I don't know, liberals you have women in your country, the moment they cross the border here, they ship them over from there across the sea into mainland Spain. And you have an immigration problem. How stupid can you be? So, yeah, that's what's going on over there. And those are real scenes. That's a real video. Incredible, folks. Hope you enjoyed it. Some information and stories here. And your calls and super chats. I think we did it all. Thanks for being with me today, folks. I'll be with you tomorrow for more American Anchor Baby. I got more to show you, okay? Thanks to the super chats, buymeacoffee.com/anchorbaby, rumble.com/American Anchor Baby, and everybody here on YouTube. I'll see y'all tomorrow for more American Anchor Baby after Country Western Tuesday and the Hake Report. So for now, take care. I shall see y'all tomorrow. Peace. Bye. Oh, Lil Nick too. He's got to say bye-bye.
The views, information, thoughts, and opinions expressed during this show are the individual's own and do not represent the views, thoughts, and opinions of the JLP Network or Bond. Their appearance on the program does not imply an endorsement of them or any entity they represent. The material and information presented here is for general information purposes only. The JLP Network and Bond name and all forms and abbreviations are the property of its owner, and its use does not imply endorsement of or opposition to any specific organization, product, or service.